let's see if this works. Welcome back to the D2S here. I'm going to try something new. I'm having a steep learning curve right here. I'm using a new software for this live stream, and I think it's going to be pretty sweet. I'm kind of probably like, 10 years late to the game on this. Normally, I just click the little live button and just go for it. But I kind of wanted to try this and see if it worked. I'm also got, I think I can get your chat if anybody rolls in here, but this is more of a test. So I haven't done many videos lately like usual, and I figured it'd be a good time to come on here and just see if this works. So yeah, I'm using a software called OBS. Just called OBS. I think that's all it's called. It's like a live stream editor, so I can kind of change camera angles and do different stuff like that. So really super cool once you get it set up. But that's kind of cool. So yeah, basically I just kind of want to see. It's funny because I'm looking over here at this other screen and there's a delay, which is what you're seeing, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, but it is weird when you see it. I think I can pick up if we get any viewers. I think I'll be able to pick up your chat over here, and that should work. I hope it's live. I'm still learning this, but that should be good. Anyways, I don't have anything specific really to talk about tonight. I kind of was just laying out some ideas here. Honestly, just kind of wanted to get on here and do this again. Seems to be people show up and watch these a little bit later, if they don't see the live stream. It's a little late here, getting close to 10 o'clock here, so I don't expect a bunch of people to be on here. But I hope you guys are. Oh, wait a minute. It just gave me a warning. It says something like my bit rate is what? Use a bit rate of 6. Well, I can't change the bit rate. How do I do that? I don't know. It says stream status good connection though, so I don't know. We're gonna have to see. It looks like it's picking it up pretty good. Maybe it's like a lower frame rate than. Again, we're gonna learn here. So, and nobody's on here yet. So, and we are on public. We're on everything's good. Education. Okay, everything looks good. It gave me a warning. Viewer activity. Okay. Analytics. Stream. That's pretty cool. You guys can't see what I'm seeing because this is my little dashboard, but that's actually kind of cool. Got my video editor up here, and I can actually do some different stuff. Like I said, change cameras. I can show a browser window and stuff like that. And just the more I learn this thing, there's just so much stuff on it that you can do. It's pretty crazy. I think a lot of podcasters and stuff use this software. But anyways, I hope you guys are doing well. I just kind of want to set this up and see if we can get something going. I don't have a lot of bandwidth or, quite frankly, motivation to go out and film a bunch of stuff around here. And just honestly, I've just been kind of working and, again, working on model airplanes and stuff like that. So let's just maybe just kind of go freestyle here. I think it'd be kind of an interesting topic tonight. We've talked about this a little bit over the years, but kind of my background, since this is my channel, I can talk about whatever I want. There's viewers. We got viewers. I don't know if they're going to say anything, but we have concurrent viewers. I can see them. It still is giving me some sort of bit rate thing. So and I'm running a little bit higher resolution than I probably should. So if this is bad, let me know, and I'll see if I can tune it. I don't know if I can like right now. Maybe I can. Maybe I can change the bit rate down a little bit. Well, anyways, yeah, my background, it's funny because for the last night, I think for the first time, I'm actually in the last, I'd say year, I've started feeling like my age. It's really weird to say, like, not necessarily like I feel old and tired or anything. I just feel I'm like, man, I'm creeping up on 50 years old, and so it's just kind of a weird. It's a weird feeling, and it's been kind of honestly kind of a struggle. Like I wouldn't say like I don't know. It's just been kind of an on and off struggle. You just kind of feel like, am I doing everything I should be doing or could have done? Or you start looking back, going, wow, what have I accomplished? What have I done? But I've looked back, and it's kind of like I think it'd be kind of interesting to share with you guys if you're interested in this thing. Well, you have to be if you're watching it. If you're not interested, just turn it off. But I can kind of go back and kind of share with you what like where I came from, and how I grew up, that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, basically, a lot of people talk about like their first jobs, like what they did, and kind of what their background is. I let's see. I mean, I grew up kind of middle class, whatever, suburbs. Like Gresham, Oregon is where I grew up, and my dad does auto upholstery, still does to this day. Hasn't really retired. He just kind of keeps going, and he's probably doing some of his best work right now. But pretty crazy, and he's been doing that for almost, I mean, for what, over 50 years now. So he was doing it just before I was born. My uncle still does machine work. He does manual machine work, a lot of CNC stuff now, and super good at buying old machines and retrofitting them with components to make CNC machines out of them, and has always done that. When I was in high school, that was one of my first real jobs, was working with him. Started out sweeping floors, started pulling levers on machines, manual, just simple things, tapping parts. We were actually working. It was kind of funny. I was thinking back, and it's like I was looking at some of these old bikes. There's an old, if you're into bicycles, you're gonna know, like mountain bikes. You're gonna know what these are. But like old Klein bikes, Klein mountain bikes. They've since, I think they were bought out by, I don't know. There's the experts will, they'll make fun of me on this one, but I think they were bought out by, it was Trek, or no, it wasn't Trek. It was a major brand, and then they went under. I thought they were bought out, but anyways, they kind of went extinct. Anyways, we were working on some of the first titanium, what are they called? Crank spindles. They call them like lower, like the main spindle under, like where your pedal cranks are. The bottom bracket, I think is what it's called, or something like that. The spindle, and we were making titanium ones, and so I was tapping, titanium parts, and it was just like, we were learning, because titanium was kind of an odd metal to work with at that time, back in those days, and we just weren't set up for the tools, but kind of figured it out. And so that was kind of one of those funny things you remember. It's just like I remember those spindles, and you'd go for a tap and it'd like break off, and then started kind of programming machines and working on CNC stuff. They had an old Morisaki CNC lathe, and I was working on that, and just kind of started doing that. And it's interesting because that was a skill that I still kind of draw on today, and I'll get to that because everything kind of changed, like paths and career paths and all that. But first job was kind of like in a machine shop. Like spent a lot of time in a machine shop. Work kind of dried up over there for a while, mid 90s. It's funny because nowadays there's like this resurgence of blue collar work and all this kind of stuff. Back in those days, it was like we had shop class in high school. We had all that stuff going on, and I remember it being not like super popular. I mean, it was something that there wasn't a ton of blue collar jobs, if I remember right. I mean, it was kind of, you could find a job in it, but it wasn't something that like there's just all these crazy amounts of openings and stuff like you have now, because I think we over the last 20 years got into tech and got into all this stuff. And so back in those days, it was a little bit different. I mean, you had to go look for a job. It wasn't as glamorous now as it is to do the blue collar stuff. There wasn't Instagram and all this kind of stuff to kind of boost all that kind of deal. It was just kind of like work. It was like, it wasn't popular. It wasn't, it just kind of, I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it was a different time. And so from there, I actually went to work for a small shop in Troutdale, Oregon, on the airport. It was right on the airport. Like they have a small airport there for not like yeah. There's jets, but it's mainly general aviation. PDX was west of there. This is a small airport. So Matt, it's whoa Trek. See Matt, dude, it's been a while, bro. Trek bought them. Just looked it up. Was it Trek? Did I say Trek? I don't remember what I said. Dude, I'm going off the cuff here. But I'm so glad you're in here, Matt. Matt's such a cool guy. Um, so so Klein, he just looked it up. Klein got bought out by Trek, and then I think it just went out. Like it just went away. Like they're going, not a good idea. But anyways, from there, I went to work at Troutdale as an aircraft mechanic. I started taking apart. Walked into this shop. It was got kind of a connection through my uncle and grandpa at the machine shop, and that they were running, and they said, "We'll go talk to these guys. You know, we do some work with them. They're cool." And so I went down, just knocked on their door. This is like there was no resumes. It was like knock on the door. You know, how's it going? And they're going, well, here's an engine. Get some tools. We got some tools over here. Take it apart. And so I just started. I remembered. They just basically said, take apart this 4-cylinder. It was probably a Lycoming I think it was a Lycoming. Could have been we did Lycomings and Continentals, and there was a couple other ones that they did that were pretty minimal on those, but mostly smaller, general aviation stuff. So we'd take apart engines, clean them up, kind of organize the parts, send things out for plating, get it all rebuilt. I did a lot of the painting, when there was like cylinders that were reused or rebuilt, remanufactured, engine cases. Did a lot of the painting on that. Certified, kind of did some of the, like, what do you call it? Redoing the bushings in connecting rods, balancing connecting rods. And it's funny because I did all this, I worked probably a total of, probably 3 or 4 years there. And what I look back on, I was like, one day, it wasn't that long ago, I was like, man, should I have gotten my A&P license or something, or just power plant? I wonder if that was even a possibility, because I never even thought about it at the time. And sure enough, you can do it with just hours worked. You can start, you can apply for your power plant. We didn't work on the airframes like the actual planes, but we did just the engines. And so there was just like a glitch on here for a second. That's kind of weird. Anyways, so we just worked on the planes, the engines. They come in. And I mean, probably working at an engine shop is probably the biggest reason why I won't get into actual full-scale aircraft. Like, I like RC aircraft. That's been a hobby of mine for the last, probably since the late 80s. I just did a video on one that we flew with my dad and I were out flying at a flying field over here. But probably working on the engines out of these things and seeing what I've seen, like just the destruction and like just stuff that can go wrong. Like I will fly with somebody probably in one of those, but I wouldn't really ever get it seriously into it. It's just there's a lot that can go wrong, and there's working on the engine side of it. We saw a lot of that. So in some ways they're very durable and tough and all that, but man, it was a really cool shop. I remember the guys. It was just I still stay in contact with a couple of the people that I worked with back in the day. It was really small, less than 10 people. And it was just, it was a cool time. It was just kind of, we just were just having a good time working on engines and that's where I got kind of my tool addiction, like I still kind of collect tools and, appreciate good quality Snap-on tools and that kind of stuff. And so we had, you had to be just a mechanic shop. You had to go buy your own gear, and the tool trucks would come by, and you had to kind of make your kit, set it all up, the way you want it, and then just you'd kind of build out your toolbox the way that you worked. So yeah, that was kind of cool. That was back in probably 96, 97 through, I think I was there till 2000. I took a little bit of time off, but ultimately I went back there, I think in 2000 and 2001 to maybe 2001 or so. So yeah, that was crazy. So in the meantime, like while I was working there, I was getting the engineering degree. So I was working on a mechanical engineering degree at the local community college because it was either like you go to you're in high school and like the feedback from the job fair was either going to the military or do engineering, and I was like, well, um, oh, Matt, you just said, Matt asked, do you still have a lot of your original USA made tools? That's a good point. So I was going to talk about that a little bit. We collected some of these tools, and I still have a lot of American made tools. In fact, my Craftsman wrench set, they're made in the U.S. They're the old Pro series, and I had those. I can't remember. There was a bunch. So when I went to this, we're gonna get to this thing where I sort of went to school in California. Went to school in California, brought a bunch of those tools down just because I was driving an old piece of junk car for school. And nowadays, these kids who go to Art Center, like where I went, they were driving Ferraris and stuff. We were driving junk, like So I had tools down there that I brought from that job. And when we moved back, I met my wife down there after school, or kind of as school was ending, and we moved back to Oregon. And this is back in the day, like when you got a job at a major company, like it was a big deal. I mean, it cost them a lot of money. I think I think it was like 20 grand. They moved everything up. They shipped our cars up there. They did everything, and put us up in an apartment. I mean, it was like when 20 years ago, when you got a job like at a major corporation, like it was, you were taken care of. So when that was happening, I had my tools in my car, and whatever the moving service was stole them. So like 90% of my good tools got stolen. So I got some insurance money from it, and I had to rebuy everything about 19 years ago. But I do still have a lot of USA made tools. If I'm doing a ratchet, like it's got to be snap on. I still do a lot. I still do all my own work, on cars and equipment and everything. So if I'm gonna go out there and get all greasy and nasty, like I'm gonna have decent tools. So, however, some of the Icon stuff, some of the new stuff out there, Capri tools. There's some crazy, like the last 5 years has been a crazy year for tools in general. Like just new stuff, super long handled 3/8 ratchets are just they're super cool. So there's a lot of cool brands out there that are starting to kind of make some headway, but I still like my USA made stuff. But yeah, so basically after that, like after the mechanic shop, tools, all that, get everything dialed in, career path changed. I ended up going to a Bible school in 1998, 99. It was like 9 months, and met a guy who I'm still friends with today. I just made a comment on a link. We're not close. We don't keep in close contact, but we were like roommates, and he had just gotten done with his degree at Coventry University for industrial design. Back in the day, we called it product design, which, that's a whole different story. But he was just getting done with that, took a year off as well. I was just getting done with engineering school. I was burned out, took a year off, and we were kind of doing that. And so he was a roommate. And this was by the way, this was in England. So we were like in northern England doing this Bible school, and it was pretty cool. I mean, it was just a cool experience, and yeah, pretty cool. And so he was there as a roommate, guy named Ed Gray, and he was, like I said, just graduated from design school, and I'm rambling a lot. I'm not good at doing a train of thought here. I'm trying to go back through my mind and remember how this all went down. But he showed me this he had a portfolio. It was like this big, little tiny flip book looking thing, if I remember right. And he's going through there, and it was like all these cool renderings and drawings and sort of technical looking things and really conceptual. I think he had this thing called the mantis or the fantis or something, and it was this tree, this crazy concept that would like pick up trees, and and grab them and like strip the limbs off or whatever, and it was just, but it was all conceptual. It was like a drawing, and I'm like, what is this, man? Did you engineer this thing, or like is this like did you make this? What is this? What am I looking at? And he goes, yeah, it's kind of like engineering, but not. It's not. Did you do all the math to calculate? No, I didn't. I didn't. It's just the design. It's like the design part of it, like the concept part of it, where you try to figure out what this actually is first before you engineer it. And so that changed everything. Basically, I said, dude, whatever that is, teach me that. Like, can you show me some of that stuff? And he's like, yeah, go to the school store, get some paper, get some markers. I have a few here, and I'll show you the basics of perspective and how to sketch in marker rendering, and do cars and all that. Like that changed everything. So got back home into Oregon, and I was like, man, that's like, what do I do? Like I just graduated with an engineering degree, and I wasn't very good at it. Really didn't like it at all. It was way too math. It was too mathy. It was too math oriented. Didn't like it. Wasn't that fun. Did a few job site, job shadows with people. I was like, wow, this isn't any better than school. Like this isn't good. What am I doing? So this all came along, and then I had to kind of redo everything. I had to start over. I never took an art class in high school. I did some drawing and stuff, but I didn't take any classes, so I had to learn all of it from scratch in probably 2001, and then apply, and went to a job fair in Portland, with like all the design schools. And really the one for me was Art Center. I wanted to do automotive design. I was super into cars at the time and for a long time, and so I just kind of went into that and went headlong into it. Got rejected a couple of times when I sent in my portfolio to Art Center. That's where I went. Art Center. So yeah. So then my focus was Art Center College of Design, getting a portfolio done, applying and getting in, and that was the goal. So yeah, basically got in there. It took a few times, and I found out later on that that's kind of what they do. They reject you at least 2 or 3 times because it shows that you're dedicated enough to actually get in there. And so finally got in, and it was just like a crazy, like if you want to go look up some Art Center stuff, like let's see if I can get on here and not just like ramble. I am going to ramble, but I'll show you this. Let me show you what this software does. Check this out. So this is basically, yeah, right there, this guy's doing the automotive stuff. That's what I was doing. Those are like quarter scale models. They have all the different trades, product design, just fine arts, whatever. It's a pretty weird, there's definitely some crazy stuff that goes on there, but that right there was my department. That's what I did clay models and sketches and renderings of cars, and so pretty crazy. And it's like, it was so expensive, unbelievable loans, like debt. It was nuts. I would not recommend going here especially now, unless you have a plan. Like if you want to do design, don't go into design if it's something you're just loosely thinking about. If you can't get away from doing design, then do it. But if it's something you have other options, I would do other options, especially now with all the AI and stuff like that. How do you get into I don't even know. This is like the worst. It's always been the worst website, and it's still the worst website. I don't know why they do that. But anyways, I graduated transportation design 2006 with honors. Oh yeah, changed my life. And yeah, went straight into designing for Freightliner trucks. And I was just literally looking at some stuff online to see if any of my stuff is still out there. This right here, this is funny. This is back in the day. This is probably 2012. Come on, cookies. Can I do this? Yeah, they're interviewing somebody else. Yeah, this is guy named Toby Faulkner. He was a director of development. Yeah. So this right here, this is a buddy of mine, Preston. He was the clay modeler. This is the Cascadia. I designed the exterior of this right here. Um, probably this was probably done in 2011, 2010. But these are all my renderings and stuff back here. You can barely see them. We had this idea for like a split fairing on the back and some other stuff, and some real thin mirrors and just some aerodynamic stuff. But this was the clay model. It was like I think this was a half scale, or I think this was half. And then we could also do, it's on this table. It looks bigger than it is, but we could do in this room. We could do a full scale. This eventually would made it to a full scale clay model. This exterior, but I fought for the exterior on this and won it, and basically developed it. It took quite a few years, probably several years, at least 3-4 years. And so this is the one that's on the road right now. Like, it doesn't have the lights and stuff, but this is kind of a version. We were experimenting with this weird little thing right here, but this is the Cascadia that you've seen on the road for probably the last 10 years now. So I did the exterior on that, and yeah, it's kind of crazy, right? Spent about 8 years and a little bit more when because I did an internship with Freightliner at the end. That's why they ended up hiring me. So, I get to stay in my hometown. I was married, and I was just designing. We didn't have any kids. I was there for probably 8 years, and it was super. Honestly, design. It's funny because this is. I guess this is kind of one of the things It's kind of funny to talk about. Like, I've spent the last 19 years doing industrial design. So essentially, this sketching, CAD models, and then you go into like a physical prototype of some sort. Right now, I'm in small consumer goods, in the knife space, and I'm doing a lot smaller stuff. But you still need like a physical prototype of some sort to get approved by the powers that be, the big management people. And so you need something to show them before they spend, in this case, millions and millions of dollars pulling tools and making tons of parts and like setting up all this stuff in the factory. But yeah, that's where it all starts. And that was where I went in. That's where I started. So, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else on here that like I worked on. Oh yeah, I worked on this truck here. Let's see if we can find. This is kind of funny. Freightliner. What was it called? The Revolution truck. Isn't that it? Freightliner. Yeah, that's it right there. That's Justin. He was the project lead on that. It was a very small team, but let's see if they show some sketches. That was the interior. I didn't do that. That was a colleague of mine. Yeah, 2012. Do we have sketches? The interior was actually really cool in this thing. It was just kind of crazy, all conceptual. But for the trucking industry, man, this freaked everyone out. It was so weird at the time with all the cameras and like this whole idea about like what I wanted to do with this one was show this idea that oh dude, Freightliner Revolution. Go back. Let's see if I can find a good picture of that so you can kind of get an idea. This is an old article on that. It's looking pretty dated now, but it looks a lot like the old Ford COE from back in the day. I can't see that very well. I want to see if I can find one that tells I guess this right here. So back in the, it's really common for like, when you buy a pickup truck to have an extended cab. It's like been around for a while. In trucks, they have a thing called a day cab, or a sleeper cab. So it's either really long or really short, and you can just crash out for, just kind of fall asleep back there in a little tiny spot. What we were setting this up for was like the market was changing at this point to a thing called hub and spoke, to where like, shipping was done with trains, and then they would take kind of medium haul, short haul to disperse the products with a truck. They were like, at that time, they were expecting a big shift from long haul trucking to kind of a medium haul trucking. So I was like, well, why don't we do an extended cab on something like this, kind of a day cab plus, I guess you could say. So, and they also needed like APUs, like auxiliary power units. So we put these in these crazy things right here, and we were able to kind of make this thing so you could still act like it was a sleeper cab, but maybe for a day trip or 2 or 3 day, maybe a 1 or 2 day trip or something like that. And so that was the concept behind this thing. So we got a chance to really experiment with like all the stuff we've been wanting to do, little cameras instead of mirrors. We had LED lighting that was actually at the time fairly new. These were animated, like these would like rotate. You see a lot of this kind of stuff in modern cars now, like where they're actually like chaser lights and they just kind of move. Can you guys see my? You probably can't see my cursor. Can you see my cursor? You probably can't. I'm pointing at things with my cursor and you can't see it. But anyways, these front little eyebrow lights were animated. And the driving lights down here were animated. These little light bars. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, it's a concept crossover cab. Yeah, so we wanted to have like this kind of digital interface, like plugged in effect, kind of, like an iPad almost, like all the reality is like these truckers have to deal with so much, like so much infrastructure and, zone, like at the time they had like Zonar, they had all these things that they had to deal with tracking and legal stuff and, all their documentation and all that kind of stuff. So we wanted to really simplify that for them. I didn't follow it enough. I left shortly after this, so I don't know where that all left off, if it was just a concept. But I mean, that was kind of cool. That was fun to be involved in. What's that? What's that one? I don't even know what that is. 2025 E Cascadia? Okay. I guess it's an electric Cascadia. They didn't change the... Anyways. Yeah, there you go. There's the lighting. You can see that. So yeah, we're just kind of taking a trip through memory lane. I know that guy. That's a guy named Woody. And there's some sketches you can see you can barely see those. Those are mine from the Revolution truck. And so yeah, we did a lot of clay models, and then they would scan them, and then we'd do CAD models over those, or they would do CAD models, and I'd kind of help them. And then these had to go down to another company in California to get built, so they had to send this scan data down there, and then they basically, had to redo it. Is there a story on this thing? I haven't even looked. Innovation truck. Yeah, it's just a little couple pictures here. Oh, here's some sketches. Those are my sketches right there. Yeah. Pencil sketches of the innovation truck. That was kind of crazy. You can't see the cursor. You don't know what I'm pointing at. I wonder if there's a way I can like point at it. But yeah, that's how it all starts, guys. Like that's kind of what I learned at Art Center. Quick sketches, renderings, CAD models, and that type of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of a fun. There's that same clay modeler, Preston, again, and we were just like building it out. He was like a master modeler, and then I spent many hours down there like fiddling on this model. Very, pretty stressful. Honestly, a pretty stressful job to be quite honest with you. Like, how long have I been rambling for here? Oh, half an hour. That's fine. Oh yeah, here, check it out. And this is us doing like, I don't think I was in that one. They're doing like spatial studies for, like foam, like literally just foam mock-ups and stuff. And, these are all taped on, everything was just, this is all taped on with like graphics and stuff. So we would kind of build out these graphics and, different stuff just to lay it out and before the concept was made. So this was like a spatial study. Like, could we fold the seats down and then fold this bed down and have enough room to kind of take a nap? Wouldn't be super comfortable, only fit one person, that's it. But that was kind of cool. So I think we worked with a company called Teague up in Seattle to build some of this stuff out. But yeah, there's a coffee maker. I mean, we did some funny stuff. Like the whole trucking, community in at that show was like freaked out. Like Freightliners just lost their minds. But all this was to stretch the imagination a little bit and see what we could come up with, and maybe tell a fun story. And then some of these things, made it into production. Not everything, but that's the whole point. You push it. You push it a little bit. What else? What else? Let's see here. Let's go back. Yeah, so spent 8 years doing that, doing design, which you may notice that the channel is called Design to Survive. And fun fact, the first videos on this channel were actual sketches and designs. And then somehow I got into building a cabin, and that's where it all kind of, I wouldn't say it took off. I think if I would have kept up with the cabin build and all that kind of stuff, it would have kept going. But um, yeah, we were one of the OG homesteader. I don't even know we need a homestead. We just built like cabin videos in North Idaho since since about 5-10 years ago. Like there's so many people building cabins in North Idaho, so it's not really a special thing anymore. But yeah, this is the job I was doing. This is about the year we bought the property and started kind of working on that. So let's see what else. What else? From there, I actually went. So from the automotive thing, I took another kind of sharp turn, still in the design thing, like what you see there, doing sketches, CAD model, renderings, that kind of stuff. I took a hard turn. Like I got really burned out in the automotive side of things. It was so stressful and just like really. I guess what I've learned over the last 20 years is all design is stressful. Every design company or design in a corporate environment is just, and I think just any sort of design consulting, anything like that is super stressful. So I took a turn into the knife industry, and let's see here. Let me see. I'm gonna try to find something. And I took a turn into the knife industry. I think I just said that like 3 times. And I went to work for a company called Benchmade Knife Company in 2013, and I designed a few knives. You may have seen some of these if you're into knives. So this is the first bug out knife news. Let's go way back, 2017. Yeah, so I did the proper. So I was there from 2013. So about 2014 to 2021, anything in their product lineup was probably, unless it had like a custom maker's like name on it. Those guys got their name on the knives. If it was internal design, like house design, then it didn't have a name on it. And if it was designed from like 2014 to, I left in 2021, but I think the last one that came out that I did was probably last year. I think they stopped. I think basically then that was it. It took a few years after I left to come out, but yeah, I did the proper. Does that show up? Yeah, I did that one. I did a whole bunch. I mean, I did dozens and dozens of knives for this company, like just concepts of this. So this came out. This is really funny because I show the bug out because this is like probably one of their most popular knives. And it was a really crazy story on this one. I could go into a whole story on this knife, just in general. Like we did a lot of research on this thing, and it's funny because it's a very basic knife, but just the fact that it's blue, like we fought for it to be like bright blue. And for many years, that was a top seller, the color. They were, internally, they were like, I mean, you can tell by the images. If you go back, everybody's like, oh, yeah, Bug Out, it's the most popular. If you go back to like the marketing media stuff that was done at the time, it was like a mid-year release. There was no real attention to it. It was kind of in the corner of the catalog with not a very good picture. But ultimately, they did some really good marketing. I think it was like an outdoor retailer with the ultralight backpacking stuff, and it just instantly took off. I mean, from 2017, and it's crazy to think that this thing's creeping up on like 17. I mean, 8 years. I mean, that's been a while. It's just crazy that it's been around that long. But it kind of, I'm really proud of this one because it really you know, it really did a lot for that company. Um, I'd like to think that I've made some sort of difference stressing out about this kind of stuff. The 490, I did that one too. Yeah. This one I think they called it the Amicus, right? But the original design was the original one was called something else, and there was some name problem with another company, so we had to change it. But yeah, I did that one. When was that? 2016. There was just a. We should just go through the catalog if you guys are interested in this. But that's kind of funny stuff. Was the first one I worked on? I think was the man. I think it was this one, the 15060. If I look back, like I believe the first knife I actually did concepts on for this company was this one, and if I'm not mistaken, this. Oh, I think that this is like a hybrid rendered Photoshop. Like they needed this thing. It never failed. Like marketing needed stuff in the catalog at a certain time, and it was never ready for production at that time. So we had to like superimpose. I'm pretty sure this is it. Like I think I had to. They sent me pictures of the handles, and then I rendered the blade, and then I like superimposed existing whatever they had in existing parts. And this might not be the image, but there's one out there that was literally the image of that knife for maybe it's that one. No, it was for years, and it wasn't real. It was like a Photoshop job, which is really funny. Photoshop time. That's probably it right there. I think. This is so weird. This is so funny. Yeah, I think that's a Photoshop job. That's kind of funny. Anyways, no, that's actually the concept. That didn't make it to production, that little hook back there, I don't think. Anyways. Yeah, so did a lot of knife designs. I mean, like dozens and dozens and dozens of knives. Did that one right there. I don't know if you can see that. This is the orange, this 061. They were really into this dual durometer thing. I don't know why. But we had to do dual durometer. No, that did go into production, that little hook thing. They've made some variants from it over the years, but you rarely hear about this knife, but it actually was in the line. I think it's still in the line. I mean, it's been over 10 years now. Or yeah. Yeah, it's been over 10 years that this has been in the line in different forms. I mean, they've changed it a little bit over the years, but yeah, too crazy. There's the orange and black scales, like crazy. They always had that pattern. Yeah, that was the first one I think I did. And then the first one that we did, I think even before that, oh man, this is going way back, 2013, like day one. I think the first knife I designed for them, or like, it really wasn't a full design. It was like a gold class that they did. And I did the concepts for it. What was that thing called? It was the mini barrage gold. I don't even know what it was called. Gold class 2014. Yeah, I did that one. That was in C-Tech. And that one, this was like the first one right here. The 586 142. Yeah, that was with Mokame and some sort of crazy carbon fiber. But I did this like this pattern right here, this kind of split like kind of race car fender thing going on through there. Kind of a weird split bolster thing. That was crazy. That was crazy knife for week one. And then we followed it up with this thing, the 141, and we did this with C-Tech. This kind of this weird aluminum inlay. But that was probably week one I was there. I did that one. This is I don't know who did that one. I think, is that this year's model? I definitely didn't do that. I don't know. They're still doing gold class on that thing? Huh. Interesting. Wow, they're still doing the gold. That's weird. They're still doing. So this is a gold class done this year. I did not do that. I work at a different knife company now. So they're still doing the old barrage and gold class. Crazy. Half the price, man. Come on. What's the deal? How much is that? Discontinued is what that is. Yeah, that was 14. So yeah, this is the year. When it's a gold class, is the 141 is 14, and this is the first one of the 2014. Um, interesting. Yeah. So no, I don't know. That's basically it. So yeah, basically took a turn from you know working in the automotive industry to going into the knife thing, and um, yeah, designed a whole bunch of knives. I mean, if you guys want to know, what was another one? I did the what was that one? It was all billet. It wasn't a gold class. It was a Benchmade Benchmade. What was that thing called? It was a mono. It was a integral tie. Is a 782. Is that right? I don't know if that's right. Yeah, that's the one. 781 Anthem. So yeah, I did that one. That was a cool project. It's like a one piece handle out of titanium. That was crazy. But we had to rethink. Like there was some concept that one of the engineers had from way back in the day, like 20 years earlier, and I was like, "Can we use that little spring thingy that you have there?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, why not? Let's do that." So all those little things, come into play. We had this crazy titanium clip, pretty nuts. So can't show you what I'm working on right now. Can't. I'd like to, but it's really kind of tricky. The problem with this industry is that you can't really show people currently what you're working on. You have to just kind of go to the website and see what's out there. Companies don't really like you to talk about them. It's weird. There's liability. There's all sorts of weird stuff. Like you don't want to say the wrong things. There's all this stuff I'm showing you is stuff that's already existing that I've worked on. I'm not making any claims that you can't see, but I did the concepts for this. There's the profile. Kind of a funky profile, but yeah, I'm not showing you anything that's not public here. So, but yeah, that's the downside with any sort of product or concept industry is you want to show all the cool stuff that you're working on, but you really can't do it. So, that's basically it. And I don't know. I'm getting kind of tired. I think I just want to jump on here and just see a couple of things. I really wanted to. Oh, dude, Matt's asking me questions. Dude, this thing needs to make noise when people put comments in here. Did I help design the Vicar? The Vicar. The Vicar. I don't. Wasn't that a? Matt's asking, did I help design the Vicar? The Benchmade Vicar. Liner lock. I don't believe so. Isn't that a Seibert? That's a Seibert. Yeah, that's a Shane Seibert design. I don't think I did anything on that. I think that was done just as when did that come out? I think it was 2013, 14. No, that was a Seibert design. They did a few variants of that and killed it. The 87, I did do the 87. Ballet song. They're known for their ballet songs. That's where the butterfly comes from. Yeah, I did the 87. I did the concepts for that. This was funny because this was an engineering project. So basically, if I'm trying to remember this. This is a billet also. This is a single piece and a single piece machined. They sort of owned this whole 42 lore um, of the titanium billet. Back in the day, the 42 was like a cast titanium, if I remember, and it was funny because it wasn't super popular at the time, but then it became a legend years after. So if you look up the 42, all the ballet song guys love the 42, and then so we said, well, why don't we do like a modern something? It was really overly modern in a way, maybe too much, but they were wanting to actually just test out some funny things, like could they actually make a machined billet, like single piece handle with the like hog this out with a end mill, and they wanted to test out these bearings, if I remember right. Like these are like dual ball bearings in each side, and like engineering wanted to like experiment with that to see if they could even pull it off. And so they're like, why don't we? Is there a way we can do a design like just while we're working on this thing? I was like, yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about ballet songs, so let's do it. So we did this as sort of a skunk work. It wasn't really like a skunk works thing where we didn't tell anybody. Oh no, they also had some sort of funky like spring open latch, like you'd squeeze it and it would pop. I think there was something to do with a magnet in there where you'd squeeze it and then it would like pop open when you squeezed it. There was something funky in there. Maybe there wasn't. No, maybe there wasn't magnets. That might have been a late. I don't know what this is. I thought there was. I can't remember. Yeah, it's sticking straight out. I don't know. I can't remember. My mind's all fuzzy. I don't know if they still make it. And then Matt said the anthem. Yeah, that was the anthem. So this predated the anthem by a lot. This was probably, man, we did the concepts for this probably in 2014, and I don't know when it came out, but there's another one. But yeah, people love to hate ballet songs. Did that have some sort of funky magnetic deal in there? It sticks straight out. I think it did. I actually did the one of the latest ballet songs that just came out as well, just before I left the company. Did I do that one? No, that was done. That was a gold class. That thing's cool. I didn't have any. I don't know if I did the concepts on that. I can't remember. 161. Yeah, I did the concepts on that one. Just it was pretty simple, quick drawing. But what's the latest one that came out? Matt, I need your help, dude. I don't. I'm. My mind is not there. We did this kind of cool little sheath for this thing. It was kind of a funky little thing with a local dude who made those things. Benchmade ballet song. I can't remember the Necron. I think I did the Necron. That was one of the latest ones that came out. Kind of weird with the weighted stuff. That's like, there's a guy named Jody Sampson back in the day, and we found these old blade blanks from like 20 years earlier, and we were kind of inspired by some of that stuff, and it's really weird, like super aggressive. I don't know. Oh, that's right. You become a plumber. Good for you. Matt said, I don't remember a lot either. It fades out of your mind, doesn't it? Like there's so much like noise. But I remember that you became a plumber. That is awesome. Well done, dude. Good choice. I think about that daily. Did they do that? We did a trainer too. Yeah, this was kind of funky. This is one of the last ballet songs I worked on. So we had these little diamonds. You can't see the cursor, but like on one half of there's deep diamonds, and then the other side isn't. That's like the bite handle versus the non-bite handle. So we had these little feely things on there, and then one of the engineers came up with these weights, like these weighted tail pieces, those black pieces on the end. Like you can change them out. I think. I don't remember. I don't think I was there when this got. I wasn't there when this got finished up. I think we started this like during COVID, during a lot. We did a whole bunch of knives during the whole COVID lockdown thing, and I think this is literally one of them. And I think I was gone before this actually came out. This came out in I don't remember. I don't even know when this came out, but there was one of them right there. Is that the Blade HQ? House of Blades. Okay, the JG10. Yeah, I wanted them to upgrade the Morpho and call it the Morpheus, like from the Matrix. Well, I think the reason they called it the Necron was there was the guy, like there was the Weehawk style blade, which is kind of the drop point looking thing that they had for years. And so Weehawk was the name in this. I didn't follow this stuff, but it was some movie or some fantasy movie thing back in the day, and Weehawk was a character and Necron was the other character. So this kind of came full circle and all that. So that's why they did that, I believe. That's kind of the story behind it. It's kind of funny. But yeah, I didn't even know they did a trainer. Is that real? Do they do that, or is that a knockoff? That could be a knockoff. I don't remember the trainer. No, that's real. I think. Oh, I didn't do that one. That's the 710. We killed the 710, and then they brought it back recently, like this last year. Yeah, we killed that whole thing. Make it a legend and make it go away. Turned it into a legend, and then they brought it back. Yeah, there's a gold class Necron. Yeah, I don't think I did that. That's the gold class Necron. That was pretty recent, isn't it? I don't know. 2024. Yeah, so I didn't do that one. Didn't do it, I don't think. Yeah. So we're just, I don't know, high consumption. Spent a lot of time on this. This is one of the websites that you can just find some cool stuff on. But I'm always looking at products, always trying to figure out like what's the next trend going to be, and all that. But anyways, rambling. I don't know. Probably should cut it. I'm just starting to fade out here. I could go off. I mean, if we want to talk gear, design, all that kind of stuff, really hasn't had a lot to do with this channel. A lot of people aren't into that kind of stuff, but I just wanted to do a video and honestly kind of learn the software at the same time. Maybe some people will go back and watch this, maybe not. Maybe I'll just delete it if it looks stupid. But the idea is that, learn the software. It's pretty good, and just give you guys a little background, where I came from. And I mean, to be honest with you, don't get into design unless you are ready for criticism. I mean, that's the hardest thing about design is if you're in engineering, if you're in a blue collar job, especially a blue collar. I remember working blue collar and it was kind of nice in some ways. It wasn't creative at all. Like I don't remember it being creative at all. That's one thing that bugged me. My mind is always doing something. Can you tell us where you work now? I'm hesitating to do so. I think I just swallowed a bug, dude. I literally think I swallowed a gnat right now. Can I tell you could? So I don't think I want to talk about that where I work now. I don't. I probably could, and it would probably be fine. But I'm always sensitive to like where I'm working, just because if you say the wrong thing, this is my channel. I can talk about what I want on here and stuff that's not, doesn't have anything to do with work. I don't want to represent work in any way because, and when I worked at Freightliner and when I worked at Benchmade and when I worked at other places, the same thing. Like where I work, I don't usually talk about. You could probably go look it up and find it if you really got serious about like, what my name is and where I'm at. You could probably figure it out pretty easy. But as far as talking about it, I don't like to represent the brand that I'm working for usually when I'm working there, just because everybody says it's a great idea until somebody does something stupid, and then it's like it all gets cracked down on. I've seen it happen so many times, where they have the best intentions. Go talk about our brand, go promote it for us. It's free advertising, all that. But then somebody will inevitably do something on the team and they'll let something out of the bag by accident or on purpose or just don't know. And then there's always a crackdown. It's like, okay, everybody don't it's not your social media, knock it off, like you're fired if you do it. And it just, I've seen so much corporate nonsense over the last 20 years. It's like, if I know I'm in the free and clear and I'm not talking about, I'm just showing you public information and talking about stuff that I've done, like from stuff that you can find on the internet, I'm okay with that. and ultimately there's nothing really anybody can do about that. But if it's current stuff, really dicey, really sketchy in this job, plus it's like using another company to bolster my brand. It just gets to be too weird. um, but sorry about that, Matt. It would be kind of fun. It would be really fun to talk about that stuff, like the current stuff. And honestly, it'd be really more fun to talk about concepts. But you cannot talk about concepts, Kyle Taylor. Yeah, Kyle Taylor says they don't take PR incidents lightly, especially. Yeah, trust me. Yeah, so you know what I mean. So, but look, I learned a lot when I was there. I don't. I'm proud of what I've done there. I'm proud of what I'm doing now, and I think you guys, if you're looking around, you'll see some stuff that I'm working on now. But um, every company, I guess, they have to make their decisions on how they enforce the laws and rules and regulations. But as far as I know, like I can talk about stuff that I've done in the past. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I haven't heard. I don't think you can. I don't know what that would do. So like, if you can see it and I can see it, we're all good. Um, yeah, Kyle. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I can literally just kind of share what's public. That's my rule. I'm literally on the internet where you guys can go typing in the same stuff you can. So I can kind of give you a little background information on some of the stuff, but I still have to keep that pretty light. That we're not talking about technology. We're not talking about their secret stuff. It's just, I worked on that, designed that. That's one of the lamest things about design is like, until you exit the corporate world and just do your own thing, you can't really talk about really anything. It's it's so weird. You think that it like bolsters your career, but you really can't. You really have to be careful on how you talk about what you do. And it's, you can do it in private. You can talk to people, but you got to be really careful how you do it. So yeah, that's basically it. Hey, by the way, how's the audio? I am kind of using a new mic. Check. It looks like, I think it's still working. I don't know. But it is. I'm trying to get this thing dialed in a little bit. This system here. And I think my little backlight died back there probably an hour ago. Yeah, Kyle said, interesting to hear your insights as a product designer. Things change a lot from an idea to a finished product. So yeah, that's something that I, currently is like, I'm in the trenches right now designing stuff. And honestly, design is weird. Design in general, that's why I preface this whole thing. If you cannot avoid becoming an industrial designer, if you can't avoid it, do it. If you can avoid it and you are interested in something else, like engineering side of things, some sort of blue collar thing, like learning a trade, like Matt over here did, like I would honestly, in this day and age, I would recommend that, and then do the other stuff for fun, like draw, design, get some training, go to take an art class or whatever. If it calls you and you can't like resist it and you have no other real option, then do it. I'm not going to say don't do it. It can be very rewarding, but it is a freaking brutal career path. I'll tell you that right now. And it's gotten way more brutal over the last 20 years with like AI. This is in the last couple of years with AI coming in. I mean, all we hear about is AI is going to take your job. Like, we don't need you anymore. I can speak into this microphone, and out the other end comes like, 50,000 little concepts that I can give a manager. We don't need you. And, we could talk about AI for another couple hours, but like, that's, there's always something that is just kind of, it's seen, if you do like an engineering thing or a trade thing or a specific skill, like current day and age, it's seen as something super, super valuable because not everybody can do it. An engineer, when I was doing engineering, like you're doing math, you're like, very few people can argue with you on like math, like of course they do argue with each other. Like I mean, engineering, they have, their debates and all that kind of stuff, but and they kind of refine their design as they go along. But like with design, with industrial design, it's like the creative side. It's the kind of like, it's like a practice. It's like you're testing ideas to see if they work, and you're literally given a word, like a brief from a product line manager or the manager of a company or studio chief or whatever, and they say, we want to hit this market, we want to do this thing, here's where we want to go, here's the price point, here's the stuff, like here's who we're going after, and good luck. Like, like this is kind of what we want to see. And so I have to take all these words, numbers, things, and I have to turn that into something that might inspire that same company to go build something from. I don't engineer it, but I give engineering a rough idea of, if sometimes I'll build CAD models. Usually, like in this company, I'm building a lot of CAD models. So and then I'm doing a lot of 3D prototypes. And so I'll give them something that's ergonomically sound. Maybe the thing folds. Maybe it does something that we want it to do. But ultimately, it's to inspire and say, like, is this a direction you want to go in? And so that right there is where the debate starts. Like, you got to sell your idea from the moment you get done with that first sketch all the way through. Really, it really depends on the company and how dedicated they are to the design process as to how far that goes. Sometimes you got to fight that product all the way up to the end. Sometimes you got to pick your battles. But yes, things change. I wouldn't say if you have a good path and you have a company that's like listening to you, and a company that actually respects the design process itself, a lot of times the designs are pretty well intact, other than details. But if you get somebody who's managing it that says, like, they want to be involved and they just want to change stuff and they want to continue, like put their mark on it or whatever, it can be like an uphill battle. Like, it can be just battle after battle after battle for every little stinking detail. Like that truck I showed you earlier in this live thing. I am like intimately familiar with every square inch of that surface on that truck, like 100%. Like if I look at it, I know the battles that I fought on just little things like a little angle underneath a door. That was a huge thing because, they may have to change the way the factory does it, or the draft angle, or the way they stamp it. And, that little inch thing that covers up a little hole that's ugly. I mean, it set off all these alarms, and I mean, it was crazy. So like, it's every little anytime you see a product, and I think maybe this is the bottom line for this whole thing, and it's not to get any like ego or do anything, but you can see the most like mundane product that's in your world and in your life. Like, I don't know. I mean, anything. This little screwdriver that I got from Radio Shack years ago. Like, it's very ergonomic. It's like I don't know. It has some weird little grips on it. It has a little spinny thing so you can spin this in there. This little tiny bit of texture right here, this was designed by an industrial designer and engineered by an engineer on a team. And it's probably done by WeA or something like that, some major manufacturer, OEM for Radio Shack. But like, there's some serious stress that goes into this kind of stuff. Like, any little mundane object, people are always like, oh, I just thought that stuff was like engineered or just came out of a factory somewhere. Like, this little radio right here, this Baofeng right here. Oh, dude, I can show you that. Hey, you want to see some design? This is a design that I'm just doing on the side, so I can show you anything on this. No, I can't, because I don't think I can get it in this screenshot. This could get into some problems here. You'll be the first in the world. If I can pull this off, you'll be the first in the world to see this. Where did that go? I'm gonna see if I can find this and put it, and see if I can do a gotta be careful because no, that's different. I'm just gonna show you this like radio. I did this concept radio just for fun, and I can't find it. Where did I put it? Color comparison box or backup. What's that? Car sketch. You guys want to see a car sketch? I don't know if I can show you that. Here, I'll show you a sketch. Here, this is kind of fun. I wonder if I can do this without... I honestly don't know how to do this, so like... You know what? I'm not going to do it right now. I don't know enough about this software. I'm probably going to end up showing my whole screen. I don't want to do that. That would not be ideal. I wonder if I can just go source, image. Oh, add existing image, create new image. I don't know what this is going to do. Oh, I think I'm able to do this. I'm going to drag this image in. It's probably went dark. Did it go dark? It probably went dark. No, it didn't. It didn't. I'm going to browse the image. Bear with me here. I'm learning. I'm old. Like I said, I'm like 47. Now I'm old. All this new technology. Yeah, there's one. That's not the screenshot though. I want to get a picture of it. I gotta be really careful what I show here. That's not it. How about no. Fun video. Okay, here we go. Let's do this one. Let's see if I can show that. Can you get... Okay, here we go. Oh, it's right over my face. Oh my goodness. This is not good. There. You guys see that? I don't know if you can see that. That's just a sketch that I did a little while ago. I'm moving it around. That's kind of funny. Anyways. So can I turn that on and off? Oh, I can. That's kind of cool. Okay. And I want to see if I can find another one that's like, oh, here's an example of a, let's do this. Let's okay that. Let's turn that on. So that's the original. I'm not talented enough to like put this in the right spot with my face, but that's like the original sketch, really rough sketch, and then you saw the rendering of that. This is kind of cool. You can just go find images and stuff, but yeah, that's a sketch, just a pencil, pen, ballpoint pen, no AI, no nothing, just, you know. How did I change that, by the way? Oh yeah, here, easy. Browse. I want to find this radio because I was showing you that radio just, and that reminded me I did this radio. I did this radio. Maybe it's over here. No. Oh wait. Yeah, don't. That's from old stuff. That's a bummer. I thought I had some screen grabs of that you could see. That would have been kind of cool. I guess not. Well, anyhow. I don't know. Huh. That's weird. If I can do like a search. Nah, I don't think so. A lot of stuff I can't show. How about that? Well, I'll get more prepared next time. I'll turn this image off because it's just sitting there. anyways. All right, well, that's basically all I got. I don't think there's anybody watching anyways, but you can go back and watch this video. I'm getting kind of tired. It's getting late. I'm going to go to bed here pretty soon. Anyways, that was kind of a fun test of this deal. I'm going to learn more about this thing. This software does way more than I can do, so that I know how to do now, but it's pretty cool. So I will check out and I guess sign off. Let's do this again. I don't mind coming out here and doing a live stream every now and then. If you guys are interested in that, let me know. This is an hour long, probably a little over an hour, and I'm done. And it was good hearing from you guys, Matt, Matt and Kyle. Yeah, it's fun. It's good stuff. Just talking about stuff. There's always different topics we can hit. Let me know if you want to hear any different topics, and we can revisit those. I'd like to start doing some live streaming here and just pushing that a little bit, see how that goes. But I will see you on the next one. Thanks.